Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. Today's video is my September book haul. First up is The Boneless Mercies by April Genevieve Tuchulk. You guys might remember this from my most anticipated books of 2018 video and or blog post. I have been looking forward to it and it is finally about to come out, and Simon & Schuster very kindly sent me a copy to review and I'm really excited to get to this. I will put the review up on my blog for you guys. We have Frey, Ovi, Juniper and Runa, and they are the Boneless Mercies. Boneless Mercies are basically death traders. They are hired to kill quickly, quietly and mercifully. It's a job for women and literally women only because men will not do this sad dark work. Frey has no family, she has no home, she has no fortune, and yet her blood sings a song of glory. So when she hears of a monster slaughtering men, women and children in a northern Jarldom, she decides that this is the Mercy's one chance to change that fate. Next up is The Darkest Legacy by Alexandra Bracken. This was some surprise book mail from Quercus. I wasn't expecting to get this. I still need to freaking read the other two books in the Darkest Minds series, and I think I'll probably just reread The Darkest Minds while I'm at it because the film is coming out soon, as it proudly proclaims on the cover of this book. Rather than focusing on Ruby like the original trilogy, this one is focusing on Zoo, who is one of the supporting characters from the main trilogy. This is set 5 years after the so-called destruction of the rehabilitation camps. Zoo has assumed the role of spokesperson for the interim government, and she is fighting for the rights of Psy Kids against a growing tide of misinformation and prejudice. But when she is accused of committing a horrifying act, she is forced to go on the run once again in order to stay alive. Next up is A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney. This is another one that I have had my eye on and I was super stoked to get asked to review this by Titan. Our main character Alice is trained to battle monstrous creatures in the dark realm known as Wonderland, using only magic weapons and hardcore fighting skills. But even warriors have a curfew. Alice lives in real-world Atlanta, and she has to juggle an overprotective mum, a high-maintenance BFF, and a slipping GPA, which is not good. Keeping the nightmares at bay, which nearly killed her upon her first encounter with them, by the way, is basically a full-time job that she doesn't get paid for. But unfortunately, Alice's handsome and mysterious mentor is poisoned and she has to find the antidote by venturing further into Wonderland than she ever has before. Next up is a suitably Halloween appropriate book. It is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is the pop classic. When I got asked if I'd like to review it, I practically bit Jamie's hand off. This is basically a bedtime story for kids featuring Buffy and Kai. Buffy is 8, there are odd noises coming from her closet and she asks her BFFs to help her investigate. I freaking love Buffy, it's one of my favourite series. I remember watching it on TV when it aired, I have it on DVD. I frequently rewatch. I'm going to show you guys some of the art. Welcome to Sunnydale. We have Buffy in the iconic red pants. We have Xander and we have Willow. I want to show you guys a particular illustration because it was freaking awesome. Look! You can see so many familiar faces. There's the gentleman, who I did not think it was possible for them to look cute because they were creepy as, in my opinion, now one of the creepier villains because of the whole taking sound away. You've got the shark gangster that Spike owed kittens to. You have the red demon from the musical episode. I can't remember what his exact name is. You have that creepy ventriloquist doll, the bug. I don't like bugs. And you've got Dracula. I just thought it was brilliant that they threw in so many of the monsters and the supernatural beings from the actual series. See, look, the gentleman just looked too cute. It's not right. The art is really cute and it's a cute, fun little story. I need to pick up Back to the Future, X-Files, and I think there's an E.T. one as well. Next up is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. I literally screamed when I got the email from Titan asking if I wanted to review this, and I literally replied straight away in all caps, essentially screaming and probably freaked out the poor publicist. So I'm very sorry, Lydia. I'm very sorry, but I was very, very excited to be able to get to review this. Obviously, this is the sequel to Vicious. Eli Ever and Victor Vale were medical students who discovered that near-death experiences can, under the right conditions, manifest extraordinary abilities. I don't want to spoil the first book, so all I'm going to say other than that is that they were BFFs. Then not so much. And now a trio hides in the shadows while another takes advantage of post-death life to take over the city of Merit. Next up is The Caged Queen by Kristin Ciccarelli. This is the sequel to The Last Named Sarah. Roa and her sister Essie were born with a really, really strong bond, so strong that it basically forged them together forever. When they were happy, flowers bloomed, and when they were angry, mirrors basically shattered. But then a terrible accident took Essie's life and basically trapped her soul in this world. And good old Dax, you guys remember Dax from The Last Named Sarah, right? He is the one that caused the accident. He is the heir to Fergard's throne, and Roa has basically sworn to hate him forever. But 8 years after the accident, he has returned, begging her for help. He wants to dethrone his cruel father. It is his father's reign that has caused Roa's people to suffer. So she makes him a deal. She will give him an army if he makes her a queen. Dax's promise goes unfulfilled, and Roa and her people continue to suffer. But then a chance to fix everything arises. Roa can get rid of the enemy, she can save her sister, all for the low bargain price of killing the king. Next up is Princess in Practice by Connie Glynn. This is the sequel to Undercover Princess. As they return to Rosewood after the dramatic events of the first book, Lottie and Ellie are hoping for a peaceful term this time. Unfortunately, strange things are happening at Rosewood, like, you know, students being poisoned, which begs the question, is the threat of the secret organisation Leviathan growing closer? Lottie and Ellie are determined to find the culprit, but danger could be closer than they think. I have been really excited for the sequel, and now it's finally here, and I can't wait to sit and binge read it in one sitting because I have no self-control. Takane and Hannah Volume 4. This is a rom-com manga. Our main character is Hannah. She is a high school student. She fills in for her sister at an arranged marriage meeting with Takane, who is the heir to a business fortune. And so an unexpected pairing of opposites ensues, and there is a hilarious amount of bickering between them. Next up is Shortcake Cake, and our main character, Ten, has a 2-hour commute through the mountains to get to high school, and basically after she's thrown into a few situations where she realises how ridiculous that is and how much she's missing out on, she elects to then move into the boarding house that her friend is already staying in along with 3 other guys. Ten's friends consider her to be completely oblivious to boys and crushes and love, but all of that could be about to change. I will be reviewing it in my mini manga reviews for September, so keep an eye out for that. Next up is Seraph of the End Volume 15. In Seraph of the End, an epidemic basically killed most of the people on Earth, which was mostly adults, and the vampires came crawling up from underground to take charge and take over things. Yu manages to escape from them, he makes it up to the surface, and he joins the Japanese Imperial Demon Army in order to kill vampires and get vengeance for his family. But Yu is a bit what you might call antisocial, so in order to achieve that, he has to first make friends. Next up is Twin Star Exorcists Volume 13. We basically have Rakuro. He's from a family of exorcists, but he's kind of over the exorcist life. But then Benio rolls into town. With the arrival of Benio, Rakuro's competitive spirit is raised. But their rivalry gets a twist when it turns out that they are the Twin Star Exorcists, and they are fated to get married and produce the ultimate spiritual warrior. Honestly, I wasn't too sure about this series at first, but I have been quite enjoying it. It is a little bit... Oops. It is a little bit ridiculous at points, but I do like the art, and I am quite enjoying the twist on exorcists and spirits and how it's all done. Next up is Soulless by Gail Carriger. Before anyone says anything, yes, I do already have 2 copies of this, but this is the illustrated version, so it was necessary for me to get it. So, Soulless is the first book in the Parasol Protectorate. We have Alexia. Alexia is a soulless spinster, which is kind of a harsh description in my opinion, but she has the ability to negate supernatural powers, and she lives in a London brimming with supernatural creatures. Unfortunately, Alexia accidentally kills a vampire, and as if that wasn't bad enough, werewolf Lord Macken is sent by Queen Victoria herself to investigate the murder and, you know, completely irritate the crap out of Alexia at the same time. Akashic Records of Bastard Magic Instructor Volume 4. In Akashic Records we have Sisti. She dreams of learning all she can about magic and becoming the best of the best so she can solve the mystery of the Sky Castle. But unfortunately, their favourite teacher gets replaced by Glenn Radars, who is incompetent, lazy, he's always late, and he's kind of all round pretty useless. Next up is The Heroes of Tolkien. I do collect these books. This is in the same vein as the other ones, but obviously it is on the heroes of Tolkien instead of, you know, battles and so on and so forth. Honestly, these books are super pretty. Next up is the item that I think you guys might be a little bit excited about, and it is the Still Prince Ashcan. It is signed by Victoria 2. Now, some of you might be wondering how I got my grubby little hands on this, because it was only available at SDCC. Luckily for me, Jo Painter, who I really have to give full credit to this for, posted on her Instagram stories about buying this from Forbidden Planet. I had no idea that we would be able to get it over here. I basically thought my dreams were shattered because, you know, I didn't know anyone going to SDCC who could pick one up for me. But they still had them in stock on Forbidden Planet when I checked, and so along with pre-ordering the first 2 issues, I picked up this too. It was a bit pricey at £12.99, and I do think Forbidden Planet takes the piss with its P&P a bit, because you can't tell me it costs £5 for like an envelope, basically, which is what they put it in. But it was worth it, and I am excited for the Still Prince. So we got a colour page, more of that, character designs, some more character designs, some more character designs, and the colour process. And then we've got a little advert telling us that Volume 1's on sale on the 1st of October. Yes! As Miss Beelzebub likes Volume 3, this is about Mullin going to work for the Demon Lord Beelzebub, thinking it's a badass bloke, and it's actually a laid-back girl who loves cute fluffy things. Odd Days of Goddess, this is a spin-off of the Is It Wrong series, and it basically focuses on the daily lives of the gods and goddesses. Bungo Stray Dogs Volume 8. Our main character Atsushi is kicked out of his orphanage, and he is rescued from a suicide attempt by a strange man who turns out to be Dazai. Dazai is part of an armed detective agency, which happens to be staffed by people whose supernatural abilities take on a more literary bent. Royal Tutor Volume 9. This is a series about the 4 princes of Gransreich, and basically they have chased off every royal tutor they have ever had, and then one day their father, the king, kind of has enough, so he calls in a favour with an old friend called Heine, and he is the one royal tutor they can't manage to get rid of. And there is plotting from their older brother's henchman who wants him to be on the throne to try and screw things up for them. I have to say, with this volume, things are definitely taking an interesting turn. I didn't really see it coming, and I'm intrigued to see how it's going to play out and how the story is going to progress from here. A Terrified Teacher at Ghoul School Volume 4. Our main character Haruaki is cowardly, he is easily bullied, and he runs away from his first ever teaching job, and it kind of leads him to question whether teaching is the right profession for him. Luckily, he gets a job offer to teach at a high school located on a remote island. Unfortunately, it is a school for Yoki, and that is one of the many things Haruaki is absolutely freaking terrified of. In Volume 3, we kind of saw Haruaki have his moment to shine, and in this volume, he's back to being useless again. There's 7 Deadly Sins, Volume 28. In the land of Britannia, Princess Elizabeth must seek out the dreaded 7 Deadly Sins, who are a group of knights who are wrongly framed for the murder of one of the Holy Knight commanders. She needs them to help her free the kingdom from the grip of the now villainous Holy Knights. Wake Up Sleeping Beauty Volume 6. This is the final book in this series, and I feel like things came to quite a nice end. Our main character Tetsu gets a new part-time job working at the mysterious mansion on the hill, which is rumoured to be haunted. There we meet Shizu, and she lives in a building separate from the house. Shizu is not a normal girl. She basically gets possessed by different spirits. It's all very civilized, there's a timetable, there is a schedule that they adhere to, they have rules, but obviously people find her strange, they find her weird, they think she's schizophrenic, and her own parents are kind of afraid of her. She doesn't really get out much, but all that begins to change as she becomes closer with Tetsu. Kiss Me at the Stroke of Midnight Volume 7. Our main character Hinana kind of feels she is above crushes and dating, but she secretly wishes for a fairy tale romance, so it's just as well then that she bumps into celebrity Cade when he happens to be shooting a movie at her school. She gets to be an extra, and they kind of end up hanging out and bonding over their very weird personalities. Waiting for Spring Volume 8. Our main character Mizuki is shy, but upon starting high school she vows to kind of make friends, put herself out there some more, but she doesn't count on making friends with the 4 superstars from the school's basketball team when they drop by the cafe she works at after school. Seraph of the End, Agurin Ichinose Catastrophe at 16 Volume 4. This is the 4th and final volume in the prequel light novel series. It's all about Gurren and the rest of the Moon Demon Company when they were teenagers before the epidemic happened, and obviously it shows us exactly what happened to cause the epidemic and the low-key partial destruction of the world, basically. So that has been my September book haul. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know down below which books you want to read or which ones you want to pick up. Let me know what you hauled in September. I will link all of my social media down below, as well as many of the books as I can, and I will see you guys soon.